Lawyers representing at least the two Zulu princes challenging President Cyril Ramaphosa's appeal against the Pretoria High Court ruling will continue their arguments before the Supreme Court this morning. Advocate Thabani Masuku, representing Prince Mbonisi Zulu, argues that Ramaphosa relied on flawed processes in recognizing King Misizulu as the rightful heir to the throne. Advocate Alan Dodson, representing Prince Smagateka Zwelithini, also supports the High Court's decision to set aside the President's endorsement. Newzroom Afrika's Junior Khumalo is joining us now live from outside the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal. A very good morning to you, Junior. So yesterday saw a number of Amabutu coming out supporting either faction, but what are you seeing this morning?
Indeed, Aldrin, yesterday scores of Amabutu came out in support mainly of the current king, Misizulu Zwelithini. But as we speak right now, it's still quite empty outside. There are quite a lot of law enforcement officials, though, that have made their way here, just as it was the case yesterday, and they've tried to block out some of the roads leading to the Supreme Court of Appeal so that not too many people can have access to this precinct. But as you've rightfully said, we are expecting that the lawyers of those opposing this application by President Cyril Ramaphosa are going to be continuing with their arguments. Yesterday, we ended off the day with Advocate Thabani Masuku, who represents Prince Mbonisi, making arguments as to why this appeal should not be granted by the Supreme Court. He said that the president himself had a lot of responsibility to ensure that the squabbles between the Zulu nation were resolved before this case, before recognizing King Misizulu as the rightful king of the Zulu nation. He says that the president actually relied on flawed information that he received from a meeting that happened during that meeting with the royal family on the 14th of May, 2021. This meeting was called by the then Zulu Prime Minister Mangosuthu Buthelezi, but Masuku says that this meeting in particular was initially called as a morning ritual. So not all the people that were supposed to be there when it comes to identifying the king attend that morning ritual. So those of the royal family who went to this meeting went there thinking that this is a morning ritual, but once Mangosuthu Buthelezi saw that there were quite a lot of people that were already gathered there, he decided to then turn that same morning ritual into an identification customary process of the Zulu family to identify the new heir who is then going to take over on the throne. So the brothers, including Prince Mbonisi, who's the brother to the late Zwelithini, was not part of that meeting, and he says as one of the closest relatives, he was supposed to be there when they elected the new king. But also another thing that Masuku pointed out to was that President Ramaphosa failed to adhere to the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act of 2019. Basically, Section 8(4)(a) of this act says that if there is any dispute when it comes to the manner in which custom was not followed in the election of a new heir, then the president is supposed to basically put together a committee that looks into how the king was appointed. If there were any flaws in that appointment, then they are supposed to take it back and allow the royal family to reconvene and basically select another heir. So they are saying that the president did not do that. Also, what they are arguing is that the president did not consult the premier of KwaZulu-Natal before he took this step to recognize King Misizulu, because there is a letter that was written by the premier to say that there were a lot of divisions within the royal family when it comes to the individual that had been identified as the next heir. This is Misizulu Zwelithini. So the president ought to have consulted the premier as well as the Minister of Culture before this recognition process. These were the arguments that were put before the court yesterday. But earlier in the day, we did hear the president's legal representative basically arguing that the president relied mainly on the minutes of that meeting from the 14th, and there was another royal family meeting in September 2021 as well that he relied on. There was also a court judgment by the KZN High Court that deemed that process, the identification process and the meeting that's set on the 14th of May as having been in accordance with Zulu custom. So that's what the president's legal team was arguing, that he followed all the right processes and consulted all the people that he needed to consult, Aldrin.